A lot of people don't know what they need, especially when they're migrating into a different country. Just imagine yourself going to Japan, let's say. You don't speak the language, you don't know the culture, you have no idea what street you want to live in.
Welcome back to another episode of my podcast, Season 5, Relentless Life on Your Terms. Join me with Kay Burton, Jamie, me. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Very
Thanks
good.
for having me.
Pleased to meet you. Now, you have a very, very interesting story on real estate. You started off as a journalist in Beijing.
Yes, that's right.
Then you became a real estate agent now, a partner. Tell me how that process went.
Yeah. Well, I started here in Australia and then I went back to China for brief few years during the Olympic game. That was in 2008 during the Beijing Olympic game. My father wasn't very well with the health, so I went back to look after him. At the time, I was engaged with the Australian newspaper and also the ACBC, which is Australia-China Business Council. It's very much related to Business Bulletin. So I was operating as a journalist back home and then came to Sydney, kind of reporting back to Melbourne, but the main base was based in Melbourne. So that's how I got moved to Melbourne. And then at this opportunity where I was doing interview with the current managing director at Kay Burton, Rod Savas, and it turned out to be the other way around. He interviewed me for a job opportunity.
Wow.
But at the time, I had no vision on changing industry. I mean, journalism, media has always been my passion. I never wanted to move away from journalism or being a journalist. So then he created this opportunity or foreseeable position for me to kind of lead towards the Asian market or international marketing for Kay Burton. That got me thinking, but it took me about a year to finally make the decision to move from one industry to another. In Chinese, we call changing industries like moving mountains. That's quite difficult. It's all very different. But I have to say, when I moved into this industry, I wasn't happy at all. It was quite tough. It feels like people just digging a hole for you to jump in, that sort of thing.
It was very different.
Very different. And you never get the full training or the full picture, thrown into the deep end. And
you got to see how you swim.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But I have to say it was a very lucky time. I was kind of standing on top of a giant's shoulder, kind of opportunity just flowing into our land. And because of the Asian investors started to appear in Australia, and there's an instant demand on buying top-end real estate. That's how I got myself started.
What was it that he said that made you consider leaving something that you're so passionate about, being a journalist, to go into real estate?
I have always been die-hard being a journalist or working. One of my dreams is to work with the Channel 9 or work with Fairfax. Never saw myself being a real estate agent. But then that was, when I was 25 years old or thereabout, I thought, maybe this is the opportunity. If I fail under 30 anyway, I can give it a go. So that's how I got myself started in this industry.
And he convinced you to get into real estate and you haven't looked back?
I haven't looked back. But I have to say that doubting moment lasts for more than a year in this company.
Because you were considering, should I go to...
Oh, am I doing the right thing? Was I the right fit in this company?
What was the pivotal point in that year point that you said, this is me, I'm happy, great decision, Jamie, pat on the back? What was it?
6 months down the track since I joined the company, I think it's an opportunity and really good timing as well. Obviously, you know where you fit into, what you're good at. And I think one thing that being a journalist, the skill bore me is to ask the right question. Always know what to ask. Always know what questions lead to what answer. You actually know the answer already, but you just want to ask the right question. So 6 months down the track, I felt myself swamped into a lot of really good clients just coming towards me. For example, the first property that I sold in Brighton was a property that I was standing at the tennis court, know nothing about the property. I was literally just standing there just to kind of first time inspecting the property myself. There's buyers, 3 group of buyers come to me and start asking questions about how do we make an offer, what do we do here? And that's how I sold my first.
How did you deal with it?
It was a negotiation lasting from 7 p.m. in the evening that day as I first went through that home until 4 a.m. in the morning, signed up at the Mahogany room at Crown Casino.
You had it done at the Mahogany room?
Yes. I think it's all just relationship.
Remember the sales price?
It was 7 million above.
That's incredible. First sale, 7 million, 7 p.m. viewed, 4 a.m. sold to the Mahogany room at the Cass.
Yeah.
That's
The
a great story.
relationship building that you have with those clients, I think that was really good timing. That's the pivotal point for me to realize how important it is to be a bridge in this country for different cultures.
And then it obviously led you to a number of other clients as well and other opportunities. Now, the average home that you sell, Matt was telling me you sell homes at a 15, 20 million.
Yeah. So the sweet spot for me is really anywhere between 8 million to 25 million. That's the sweet spot.
What's the most expensive home you've sold, Jamie?
Well, the most expensive property that I saw was competed. I mean, there's a lot of, if you like to call it bridesmaid of the big sales, but competed by my client. So anywhere between 40 to 60 million. Last year, 40 million.
That's incredible. And how do you go about the marketing for such a property, such a high valued property? How do you go about marketing that? Because you obviously know a bit about marketing. You put all your skills together, and how do you get that sale?
Yeah, okay. So I think that really come back to more than 10 years ago when I started, like 13 years ago probably, when I twist my thumb in the office, wasn't sure what position was right for me. First to join the company, I started to do a lot of research on marketing front because that's what I'm good at and what I'm passionate about. So I've been looking at Sotheby's, looking at Christie's, looking at all those world leading top-end real estate company, how they do their marketing. So did a lot of research on that and started to change the whole landscape or the way real estate agency does things here. So there's a lot of channel that we've been building relationship with Wall Street Journal, Barron, Mention Global, world leading top-end platforms digitally and in print as well. So, and except that, I think on the marketing front, you really have to look at the culture locally with a lot of different countries. They have very different intricacy when it comes to searching property.
The way they buy, the way they look?
The way they look, yeah. Are they going to look at Zillow in America? Are they going to look at iProperty in Singapore? Are they going to look at 136 in China? And as we talked about just then, the firewall in a lot of Asian countries. So a lot of people doesn't know the censorship is so strict, especially when it comes to Chinese clients.
Which is a lot of your clients or all your clients. Are they all your clients that come from?
I have to say 10 years ago, the majority of my client pool were Chinese.
Yeah.
But that has changed to probably 50 Chinese and 50% expats these days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Because I've got a friend of mine who's an agent in Dubai. All of his communication, all of his sales is on WhatsApp.
Yeah.
All of his
that's
communication, everything. When he told me that, me coming from Australia, I thought, wow, that's fascinating. And you're saying, obviously, due to different cultures, different intricacies, you've got to use different platforms, different digital ways.
Absolutely. You've got to use them differently. So in China, we use WeChat, and through Hong Kong, Singapore, Europe, we use WhatsApp. WhatsApp is probably one of the mainstream media platform or communication platform when it comes to international clients.
Yep.
And then obviously phone call. But if you make a phone call to Chinese client, they don't even know how to do it. Like they're so onto WeChat these days. Coming back to your question about marketing, I think it's also the face-to-face marketing. That's the most powerful way. If you have the relationship building. So a relationship building of a face-to-face home visit in their country sometimes can last for 2 years. What I mean by that is normally we would travel. We would actually jump on the flight during school holiday when it's quiet season here in Australia. We go and see our clients in their hometown, whether it's Shanghai, Singapore, Milan, London, New York. We go and see them. Sit down with them one by one, understand what they need, what timing they need, and then really map out what are the best options for them. So that can lead to not only property topic, sometimes finance topic, tax topic, or immigration topic.
What do you do in that case?
We sometimes would bring in a property lawyers or immigration lawyer with us.
So you help them in every part of that service, or you refer them to someone?
We refer them to someone who specializes in that area. Obviously, I'm not specialized in those areas, but we've got the resources to do that. And sometimes we would actually have those people or specialized people ready to go in our first meeting.
So you have basically the appointments to fact find to see what their, I guess, budget is, what they can spend, when they want to spend, what sort of home. Then you go back and get all the listings and then present it to them.
No, it doesn't work that way. It's almost the other way around, actually. So the mentality to work with, let's just say, for example, with a lot of Asian clients, have to be going back to what they need.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know what they need, especially when they're migrating into a different country. Just imagine yourself going to Japan, let's say. You don't
You would
speak the
have no
language.
idea. Yeah, that's
You don't know the culture. You have no value understanding of Japanese
yeah.
properties. And you appear there. You have no idea what street you want to live in. Do you want to be close to
How would
school?
you assist me then? So what would
So-
the process look like?
I need to understand what's your family scale? What is your drive to stay in Australia? Are you going to stay in Australia or are you not? Are you just looking for investment property? Most of our the client that I'm dealing with, need to be impressed. They don't know what they want. They might tell you, we just want 3-bedroom, we just want 5-bedroom, we want this price range, we want this particular street, but it's never find. It's very hard to find the perfect property, as we all know. It's very hard to find the perfect property. So I think our role here, especially for someone who just arrived in this country, is to inspire them, to give them hope. A lot of them come here miserable, and because their life overseas has been so advanced, they always wanted to be with the arm length with you, especially with real estate agent. No one really trusts real estate agent. They probably have got a worse reputation overseas as well. So to create that trust is even harder. But to understand what your client really need is one thing, but to elevate them, to give them hope is another thing. This is what I do. So if a client tell me, Jamie, I've got $5 million budget to spend, I never listen. Go in here and go in there. I want to show them $50 million property. First of all, tell them this is the place that you want to invest the next 20 years of your life. You want to invest in this place to have your kids here. So really get them to saying, oh, in fact, Australian lifestyle is really good. So that's how we start. And then we work the budget backwards.
So I can actually see now by talking to you how those questions from being a great journalist would actually help you with this process and how it all comes together. So you're actually giving them an opportunity or giving them to understand what they're going to live, how much they can afford, or what their budget might look like if they're going to live in certain areas. Now, you said before we were on camera that you work with some amazing agents here. I just interviewed one who I've known for a long time, Matthew Pilios. What makes him a great agent in your opinion?
I haven't shared this with him yet, but I thought about it very carefully. Been working with him for a while now. His style is very different from anyone else. It's not about the tricks or the strategy or the plan or the dialogue that you can copy from him. There's something intangible about him that you will never get from anyone else. It's the passion, the attitude. It's the energy that you get from him. It really is. Some people can have the energy right on the spot, turned on, but his energy has never turned off. Like not even
on.
Private life, he's probably never turned off. I don't know how he drives this. I don't know where he get his energy from, but this is something I think he's born with.
So it's his energy. Other great agents that you have in this office here, what sets them apart?
So Ross Savage has been a legendary figure in my life, and I have to say, pretty much since the time that I joined this company, it's a privilege to work with him, really is. For anyone who's wanted to be in business, I think it's very important to have a good mentor, and I'm very lucky to have him as a mentor in this industry in my life at that stage of my life. And he's been helping me a lot. And the way he conducts things and the way he appreciates everybody. For example, it really feels like when you go into a room of 1,000 people, you still feel like he is the only one who's talking to you. He's driven, his passion, and his care to everybody is phenomenal. Again, come back to energy. I think that's one thing, but experience is another thing. And I also think the attitude that Ross gave me is probably going to be set me apart from a lot of people too.
You mentioned a few things now. You've mentioned attitude quite a few times. You mentioned relationships, which is how you got a lot of your clients, and energy. So this is what they all have in common, and something that you also said you use as well. So that's probably the 3 common threads that I've heard you say.
Yes, absolutely.
What other great agents that you share the office with here, would they have the same attributes, I'll assume? Or different styles? Because there's always different styles that work as well for different people.
Yes. The other person I really appreciate in our company or in this industry is Gerald Delaney. Gerald is what I call like a chairman figure or another industry statement. So day one when I joined the company, he's been on duty all day and he's really, really nice person to work with. And everybody that I talk to know Gerald. Literally, either client or buyers or vendors, they all know Gerald. He's been, again, the relationship that he built is very much phenomenal. It's phenomenal. Every now and then, when you go to Turak Row or go into one of those leading restaurants, he's there every Friday, catching up with different clients from lunch turning to dinner.
Good relationship.
Yeah.
So what would you tell our listeners or someone that wants to consider going into a new industry and that's a bit scared? So like your leap from journalism, which you absolutely loved, you had a great man approach you, talk to you about real estate. What advice would you give people that are considering potentially changing their job? And like you said, back in your culture, it's like moving a mountain if you're going to change your career path. What advice would you give someone that's considering it?
Yeah. I think never judge any industry and never judge any industry. When I joined real estate company, I've been talking about this opportunity with my family, obviously core people around me and all the people that I know. I have been very skeptical about being in this industry. I don't see this industry has got good reputation when I joined this. So I think I was being over judgmental about being a real estate agent, but obviously tied up back to my passion, which is journalism and media. And now looking at myself, utilizing social media and utilizing all those video platforms. And I find myself, although I'm in real estate, but I'm kind of having a big link with media as well. There's a lot of skill that is transferable. So never judge a industry that you're going into.
I was thinking that, and just before off camera, you were carrying your little microphone here, and I said, what was that for? And you randomly ran into people and you'll just interview them and ask them questions?
Yes, I do that. Yeah, I only just started, but I think it's showing a really interesting difference of myself. Say, for example, if I go to Ciccone in Turak, obviously that's a newly opened Italian restaurant, it will be confronting to have a camera, really, to go in there, obviously.
Nice,
yeah. So if you have your phone and connected to a camera, to bump into someone that you really know, and just do a really short video like, hey, Ciccone, the bartender at Ciccone, what's your favorite drink? What's the most popular drink for tonight? Who's been ordering? And then you tend to be the leading person who know the lifestyle of Turak. So I want to capture those moments of people.
I've got to say, in all my time, Jamie, doing this, I've never heard anyone else that does that. I find it intriguing, fascinating, because you're not only talking about real estate, you talk about lifestyle, and you're trying to capture your area, your local market, which again goes back to the core fundamental of relationships, of building relationships with your community, which will then become your buyers.
Yes.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. In the past, I used to carry a camera, go into different events and start taking photos. And that's how I start the conversation. But now having this little microphone really worked. And I bump into architects all the time. I bump into people who are significant figures because don't forget, we're showing significant properties. Like most of our properties are anywhere between $20 million to $40 million. So you do bump into quite a lot of C-level executive or industry leaders. That's your opportunity to interview them. And no one would have any resistance in having a 5-minute chat with you.
And what made you come up with this idea?
I think maternity leave. I have to say. Yeah. So got 2 kids, and during the 2 kids, I had 6 months of maternity leave during my work. I mean, during the last 5 years. And every time when I come back from maternity leave, I just feel like I start from the bottom again. Like
we're building the pipeline, your relationships, all the momentum.
Correct. And then it's all disappeared for 6 months because it's such a long cycle that I haven't gone back to work. So most of your clients will feel, oh, are you still working? Are you retired? Are you full-time mom? Or, that's the terrible moment that I've been facing for the last 5 years. People think that I'm semi-retired because I had kids. So I needed to be at the front face of every listing again, build that trust, build my face again, pretty much. So I feel like having the social media helping me really gain quite kind of amplifying my position or appearance very quickly.
Your authority, and also that you're still in doing what you're doing, which is real estate. So you had 2 kids. So you boy, girl?
Yeah, 2 boys.
2 boys.
2 years old and 5 years old.
Beautiful. I've got 4, 21-year-old boy, 10-year-old girl, 8-year-old girl, and almost 7-year-old girl.
Amazing.
Yeah, so incredible.
Amazing.
So during this, you had an idea. I need to stay at the forefront, the top of people's mind. I'm going to carry a little mic around. I'm going to interview people and just stay in front of their mind. Is that it?
Absolutely, absolutely. So I started the Little Red Book, which is it's like a YouTube channel,
Yeah.
but facing towards my community, which is the Asian community, and you can go through the file what we talked about worldwide. So I only started in July last year, and now I've got pretty much 20 top-end buyers from those channels.
That's incredible.
Really incredible.
So you've been doing this for 8 months and you found 20 sales.
20 top-end buyers. Not sales, but 20 top-end buyers.
So
Probably
leads.
5 sales, actually. 5 sales
Which
from
is
those.
amazing. Just through an idea, and now you're continuing doing that.
So that's why I'm doing it on Instagram as well, kind of building out my local profile as well.
So for those who want to have a look, what is it? We'll put it in the comments. What's it called?
Yeah, it's called the Little Red Book. Little Red Book. It's called Red, R-E-D.
Yep, Little Red Book.
Little Red Book.
Book.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll
And
put it in the
Instagram.
comments below. That's fantastic. So what's on the horizon 2024 for Jamie?
2024 is going to be ultimately a very busy year for me. Very busy. Much busier than last year. There'll be a lot happening. Work is easy, I have to say, because you've been doing this for more than 10 years, decades. So I think 2024, we've got to do more trips, international trips. I need to pick that up and come back to the relationship building. I needed to go and see my clients that I haven't seen for 2 years at least. Also needed to do more on social media as well.
Do you do all your own social media?
Yeah, I do my own social
Or
media.
you answer all the comments, everything yourself?
I do everything myself.
What social media platforms are you on at the moment?
So only actually 3 main ones. So I've got WeChat, I've got Little Red Book, and I've got Instagrams. Obviously LinkedIn and others as well.
But most of your clients come through
most of my
these-
clients come from Little Red Book. Instagram started to pick up,
Yep.
but I think it's going to take a little bit of time. But most of my clients are actually a pool of clients that existed for the last 10 years. There's about 30,000 of them from my previous life,
Yep.
which was a journalist.
Of
Because
course.
don't forget, as a journalist, especially business journalist, you ended up interviewing quite a lot of industry leaders as well.
Which
right?
you still have all these contacts.
Correct.
So when you approach those contacts, you say, I'm in real estate now, and you have a quick chat with them?
Yes.
How does that conversation go?
Oh, it's just because most of them know you already, and some of them might have moved
So it's
on.
a warm conversation.
It is a warm, never a cold conversation.
As in they know who you are.
Correct.
And you've already opened that door, you've established that relationship,
Yes.
and they just pivoted.
Yes, that's right. And most of them might have moved on to a senior position already. Or if it's not senior, it might be a different industry, but still a senior position.
So most of the buyers that you'll find here that are north of 20 million, you'd find them overseas in London. What states, what countries are these buyers coming from?
Okay. So our international platform
Yeah.
primarily existed with Asian clients,
Yep.
Singaporean, Hong Kong clients, New York clients, London, and also buyers from Dubai started to appear as well. Increasingly, there's Japanese buyers coming back.
That's fantastic.
Really interesting.
And the percentage would be higher, more Asian buyers coming through at that price point?
Okay, so within our company, if it's 5 million above, or let's just call it $10 million above,
Yeah.
more than 70% of the transaction done with overseas clients, international buyers.
That high. So that it's actually that high,
Yeah.
huh?
And out of that 70%,
Wow.
more than 50%, definitely more than 50% were Asian.
That's incredible.
Mm.
And how do you go even parts finding that lead or that data to start that relationship? Is it all through social media?
No, social media is something really new. Like we
How
only
would
just
you
started.
start that relationship? How do you find that? Because obviously you've got to nurture it for years to build that trust.
Correct.
No one's just going to say, hey, Jamie, you look like a great agent. Here's $10 million. Here's $20 million.
Absolutely.
It would be nice, but it's not going to happen, is it?
No, absolutely. So most of our relationship, if you look at around the world, in Australia, it's a vendor's market. In China, it's a buyer's market. What that means is in China, if you have the money, you're the market leader. Here, if you have the property, you're the leader. So every
got
property
the
is very
stock.
different. Yeah, if you have the stock. So we've got some of the best stocks in Australia. So buyer comes to us instantly. And that has been the case for more than 30 years.
Why do you think that is, Jamie? Well,
That was beyond me. That was
so
actually before I
the
joined the company.
database.
The database, yeah, the database.
It's the name, it's the brand.
It's the name and also the brand as well. So when we lease the property, we put it online, right?
Yep.
And you instantly get a lot of international inquiry. And especially when I see a +62 or a 852 number. I get so excited. I get excited with very, very new buyer that I
Did you know
can
that's
nurture.
that's probably a qualified buyer as well?
Correct.
That can buy a property like that.
Yeah, and you can nurture them right from the beginning. And if you guide their hand from right beginning, that relationship's going to last for a lifetime. And then you make a trip.
Multiple transactions.
Correct. Yeah, and that can transfer into commercial properties as well.
Give me an example of a client that's done many transactions, 3, 4, 5. What's a big number? What's a client that you've dealt with many times? Number of times you've seen them.
Okay. So there's a client that I kind of looked after day one when she arrived in Australia, not speaking too much English. Back then, she only had 1 kid. Now she's got 4. And her father soon after arrived as well. The first thing they bought was not a property. It was a car, Bentley. It was there's only 2 in the whole world. Like they bought that car, but it's a very long Bentley. So the first property that took her was in Canterbury, and she ended up buying it. Then she ended up buying one of our property in Kew, but at the time she was eyeing on another property in Toorak. But unfortunately, the Bentley didn't fit into the garage because it was too long.
That's so funny.
So she didn't end up buying that property. So then I went back to China to visit her and her father. And then along the way, she bought another property in Kew and then commercial property. She's a developer now, really well-known developer here in Melbourne. We went back to China to see the father. That's the sort of relationship we've been building. So back and forth, we're talking about more than 10 years. Every single property transaction, she always come to us to ask for advice. And every single residential property, we act for the family. So she bought probably close to more than 20 properties now.
That's incredible. All because you built that trust, the rapport. You're dealing with the family, their father. You meet them here, you meet them there.
Yeah. Can I tell you a little bit more about the father? So the first time when the father arrived here, obviously we have wine and dine, with dinner at the Rock Pool, with dinner at the Crown. Back then was so popular. So there one day on a Saturday, I said to Helen, I said, don't worry about where I'm taking you. Just be ready by 10 o'clock in the morning at Crown. So I rock up with a black car, pick them up, family of 3. So I said, Mr. Lee, just come with me for the trip. As long as you don't have high blood pressure, I'm okay. So he said, oh, no, I'm good. I just have diabetes, but I don't have high blood pressure. So we had the car pick them up from Crown, across the road to the helicopter landing pad.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah.
So it has to be a very long one because they've got quite a few family members. So we ended up hiring one of the police helicopter because it's bigger enough. So we put them in and we drive them. We actually elevate them into a kind of a different landscape to show them how Melbourne looks from the sky up. And when you're onto a high level, you can really see what Canterbury looks like. How many parks are there in Toorak? What South Melbourne looks like? Brighton. To the winery as well. So you really get a different landscape of whole Melbourne.
Very exciting.
So that's how they ended up bought their first property.
Falling in love with the place and understanding it differently. That's incredible.
And since then, I've been using that method a lot.
Of course. Now, Jamie, I can talk real estate all day with you. It's getting that time of the podcast now. Are you ready for your quick fire questions?
Fire question.
Quick fire ones. You ready?
Fire away.
What's the favorite book you've read?
Yeah, Michelle Obama's last book.
I've heard about it. I haven't read it. It's an autobiography, isn't it?
Autobiography, yeah.
I've heard about it. I haven't read it.
Michelle Obama's last book. And my current favorite one is Elon Musk.
I like Elon Musk too. Coffee or tea?
Tea.
If you could visit any country in the world right now, where would you go?
Hong Kong.
Are you a morning person or a night person?
Currently a morning person.
Yeah, in real estate you have to be. Favorite hobby or pastime?
Gosh, there's no pastime at all. With everything. Favorite, driving.
Dogs or cats?
Dog.
One thing you're very grateful for?
My parents.
Beach vacation or mountain getaway?
Beach vacation.
Favorite season of the year?
Summer.
Last song you listened to on repeat? What's your favorite song?
Dynamite.
What's your dream? I know the answer, but I'll ask you anyway. What's your dream job besides real estate?
Oh, yeah. Well, do you want me to go there?
Is it journalist?
Journalist.
Yeah, I thought so. I wanted to listen to you because I know how passionate you are about it, which is great. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Take your time. Be patient.
If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
I was going to say many mouths to talk.
So you could
You
talk
just
more,
use
get
that
more
one.
sales.
Yeah, many mouths to talk.
When you're stressed, what's your go-to technique to de-stress you?
Swimming.
On a scale of 1 to 10, Jamie, how much have you enjoyed being on our podcast?
More than 10.
Thank you very much, Jamie. It was a pleasure having you on. Remember, if you like our content, remember to like, subscribe, and share for more episodes of Relentless. Thank you.